Delicious. Who has a 100-word summary of the trouble you guys got into last week?
We were in a cave. There was a lot of traps. We killed a few kobolds. Destil poisoned some.
Wait, a few
Killed some
kobolds?
I think it was more than a few.
Like, I mean, like,
I think it was a considerable number.
More than one, less than 100. So, and then they tried to surrender, and then they dropped a ceiling on us.
Well, let's be real. There was no surrender involved in that. There was never any intention for surrender, despite your attempts to strong arm them.
Unfortunately, my strong attempts are going to be weak because I've only got a 10 strength.
So at the end of last session, I had everybody roll percentile.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to refresh everybody's memory that Adrex rolled an astonishing 83. Raazu rolled a 35. Birdie rolled a 17. Red and Windy tied with a 4.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Which is kind of a statistical miracle, honestly.
Is it really, though?
It's a 4 in 100 between 5 players to any of them. At least 2, so there'd be a little bit more than that
Yeah,
because you have a chance of 3 and 4. Yeah,
It's a small scale version of like the birthday paradox.
yeah, it's like a 4 in 100 plus a 2 in 100 plus a 1 in 100, right?
All right, all you math majors, let's go.
Destil, are you sure you're not a robot?
That totally does not compute.
So, Destil, when the thing pops up on your phone that says touch all the buttons that don't have a stop sign,
Yeah.
do you just freak out?
No, I just have my wife do it.
I saw a joke on Twitter like that. It was about, it said it was Vision and some other Marvel superhero in the Avengers. It's like Vision is like, I can't do this captcha. Can you do this for me, please?
And of course, having our summary and then immediately going back to just BSing is also going to make Treble's job a little harder. So, setting out into the mushroom forests here. We talked a little bit last week about just how alien this location is to all of you. None of you have ever been to the Underdark. But after exiting this really tight and cramped and claustrophobic cave, this passage through the mountains, it doesn't feel as though you step out into a large cave. It feels like you step out into another world. You cannot see... I mean, you know, somewhere high above you, there must be the crust of the earth, but you can't see it from here. It doesn't feel oppressively hot or stifling. The air isn't stale. There is actually a slight breeze. But the foliage and the wildlife, the feel of the ground, the sounds and smells are like nothing any of you have ever experienced before. And after moving through this scene for what feels to you about a day's travel, you do actually have experience of traveling overland in a place with no sun, because you were in the Feywild for a while. And after moving for what feels like a full day's travel, a full 6 or 7 hours of marching, it becomes apparent, unless Birdie admits it straight out, that you don't know what direction you're traveling. So I guess the first question is, Birdie, you realized early on that you had no idea what direction you were moving anymore. Did you tell anybody else about that, or did you just try to fake it?
Faked it. Just confidently, let's go this way. Yeah.
Who's got the highest intelligence score besides Birdie?
Red's got a 14.
Oh, okay.
Red, after a couple hours of marching, when you're coming to the end of what feels like a full day's march, you notice a large red and purple speckled mushroom stalk. And this has to be the third time you've seen this mushroom stalk.
Mm-hmm.
You're certain of it. this particular, I mean, it struck your mind because these particular colors, you were wondering whether or not this fungus had any poison that could be used. And you wondered that the second time you walked past it too. And now coming up on the third time, you see this particular stalk has the same mark on it where you drew your blade last time you passed it. And it becomes immediately apparent to you that Birdie has no idea where he's leading you.
And after passing it all, I'll just mention, so has anyone else figured out why we're walking in circles? Do you think there's some sort of magical enchantment?
Wait. We're walking in circles?
Yeah, that's the third time we've passed that tree.
Birdie, I thought you knew where we were going.
No.
Adrex
You
falls on the ground.
You assumed you knew where I was going. And you know what they say about that, right?
That I box your ears?
I mean, it's not like we have a destination in mind. We're just here.
We're supposed to be heading north.
Yeah, we were given directions to head north.
I don't recall this, so it didn't happen.
This happened in that awesome 4-hour role-playing scene with River Leaper that everybody really, really enjoyed.
No. You don't understand. It didn't happen because if it did happen, that would mean this is my fault, and I don't like that.
Oh.
So you're rejecting reality and substituting your own, I see.
Or he just sits down on the ground and says, "Fine, I'm lost." There, you happy?
See, the first step to solving a problem is admitting you have one. Raazu
No,
pats
not-
Birdie on the shoulder.
Particularly, I'd be happier if someone could try and figure out how to get north. Or which way we're facing right now. Or some way to
Well-
keep consistent directions down here.
If we were in the wilderness, I would say check the trees for moss, but I don't know how useful
Check the
that'll be
moss for
here.
trees.
There is no shortage of moss in this forest.
All right, so let's take a look around the immediate area and see if like the moss is like growing on like rocks on a specific side.
Most of the
And-
rocks that you come across are covered in mosses. When I say covered, I mean if you want a place to sit, you don't want to sit on the moss. You have to clear a spot for
have to
yourself.
scrape it off, huh?
There's like the forest floor. There's no grass. It's some kind of. I mean, it looks like grass, and if you're walking barefoot, it even feels like grass in certain parts. But if you inspect it, it's these bizarre-looking fungal shapes coming up out of the topsoil. So when you say you want to check your immediate area, you're checking the rocks and things, because your other option is to try to climb one of these stalks.
That's also an option we could try.
I'll climb the nearest mushroom.
Okay. You mean like the nearest large one?
Ye-
Like you're not just gonna hop up on a Smurf house and be like, okay, done. Okay. So
My immediate reaction was yes, but no, yeah, a large mushroom, something that I could see a good distance away.
So the difficulty here is that most of these they don't have branches. The bulk of them. Some of them have like weird shelves coming off the side, which at first glance, without trying, you're not sure would be able to hold your weight or not. The much larger ones that look much sturdier don't have branches. You're going to climb to the top and then have the bottom of this cap that you're going to either have to try to shimmy along and swing yourself up and over.
No, I was just gonna climb up the stalk. Like they're spongy, right?
Some of them are when you pass them, like the one that Red was inspecting, the speckled one. Some of them are extremely hard, like wood.
Oh.
So you kind of have chef's choice here.
Well, I guess I'll because I was thinking either dig my claws into the one and use it to climb, or maybe use my daggers as things. But if they're hard, I guess I'll just try shimmying up one.
Okay. Going up one of the spongy ones or one of the hard tree-like ones?
Which ones are generally taller? Whichever one of the two is generally taller. I'll let you make that call.
This isn't my decision. Don't foist this on me.
I want to go up the highest mushroom in the area.
There are two tall ones of equal height. One is spongy and one is hard.
Okay.
You go spongy, I'll go hard.
Adrex always goes hard.
Exactly.
Okay, fine.
Adrex busts out his axes and starts climbing up that way on the side of this hard mushroom.
I pull out my daggers and stick my way up the spongy mushroom.
Both of you make me a perception check.
Raazu looks at Fred while they're doing this. While I imagine they're having this conversation in character, Raazu looks to Red just as like, should we interrupt them or should we just let them go?
No, I think at this point you just let them do their thing.
Yeah.
My perception is +1, so that's 13.
How did Birdie do?
I have the 23.
23. Adrex, you just see a lot of mushrooms. When you get high enough to look around, kind of over the first layer of the mushroom canopy, you get above that and you realize there's a second and probably a third above that. The tallest and largest of them just having gargantuan stalks that cover the whole area in shadow. And your eyes are having difficulty acclimating to the light because all the light here is some of these caps are very luminous. It's like moonlight basically, but it's below you, and like looking out over the carpet of these things, it's very beautiful, but you don't see anything of note. Birdie, two things strike you as you climb up to the top of this spongy stalk. Actually, three things. First is looking in the distance, you see a clearing where no stalks are growing that looks greener than other places in the forest, but no less luminous. Something there is creating a kind of green light. Second is you hear a harsh buzzing sound from above you up in the cap of this large mushroom. And third, you realize that the spongy bark of this mushroom is starting to peel away as you dig into it with your knives. If you don't keep moving, you're probably going to peel away apart and fall.
Okay, well, I mean, I'll make a note of the direction of the clearing and then go back down the stalk before I fall.
Okay.
And then we will just ignore the buzzing for now, I guess.
So by ignore the buzzing, do you mean you're going to ignore it, or do you say, "Hey guys, I heard buzzing, but we should ignore it"?
I mean, I'm just going to ignore it.
Okay.
It doesn't seem pertinent.
That seems reasonable. Adrex and Birdie climb back down and report what they've seen, but not what they've heard.
I suppose head toward that clearing then?
Maybe. Right now, I think the only
It's a
option we
landmark
have
at
is
this
to
point. It's a
either that
landmark.
or find someone, right? Like, there's someone we could actually ask which way is north, or I don't know how we're going to reorient ourselves down here otherwise.
Best place to stay that would be from a landmark, I'd say. So yeah, let's head in that direction.
Birdie, roll survival. Let's see if you can get these guys there.
That would be an 18.
I'm trained in survival. Can I assist in that?
Usual, I would say yes, but because you're in a wilderness you're not familiar with, and because you didn't lay eyes on the place you're going,
Okay.
I'm going to say your help would not be that effective.
Fair point.
You can certainly bully him and act like you're helping.
17, not 18.
17?
Yeah.
After an hour or so, Birdie leads you guys out into this clearing. And the entire place is carpeted with this glowing emerald color. We're going to say grass, for lack of a better term. To one side of the clearing, there's a large oval pool of water. And there's a thick mist resting over top of it. And as you enter the clearing, you can hear like a slight fizzing noise from that direction. And what's next?
Say we head in that direction of the sound.
Raazu is the first one to step out into the clearing, and where she does, the little emerald shoots immediately retract into the topsoil before her boot has a chance to land on them. So she's got this little area around her footprint where the fungus is retracted into the ground.
Birdie's gonna, like, that's awesome. So he's going to, like, go down and look at the grass and see if he can't figure out where it's going. Maybe it's magical.
Getting this close to the ground and looking, I mean, your expectation is to see like a layer of topsoil that the plants are growing out of, but it's not really. It's like this spongy kind of mass. Like, you can't pick up a handful of it. You could dig into it certainly with tools, but it's not dirt. It's porous, and it's not wet, but when you press down into it, you can, like, it makes a squishing sensation. Kind of like an angel food cake almost.
Okay. So this seems like a really good time to dig a hole with my shovel.
Okay.
So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to dig into it with my shovel.
And it doesn't dig away like soil. It comes away like you're cutting out wedges of like a really thick gelatinous substance. And you start piling up this substance on the ground as you dig your little hole.
Where do I see where the grass went?
No, it retreats from your shovel before you start digging, and as you dig, there's no trace of it anymore.
Interesting.
Is it like Jello? I mean, like, I'm trying to get like a picture of the viscosity. Is it like a Jello mold? Am I digging out like cubes of this stuff, or is it just like
a little bit? Yeah, like maybe more like a blood pudding kind of thing, where you're slicing away a large piece of it, like a shovel-shaped piece, and having to lay it to the side instead of just picking up a quantity of dirt and throwing it. But it doesn't, not a lot of difficulty to it. Like, you don't have to chisel into it or really put your elbow into it. It cuts really easily. Maybe like really hard butter, maybe.
Oh, okay. All right. It's not like bleeding or anything, is it?
No.
Okay. All right. Cool.
In fact, if you're not examining it very closely, you would just say it's soil. Feels like soil when you walk on it. Has the same kind of color.
Raazu takes a few more steps out into the clearing area.
And this phenomenon with the emerald grass retreating from your boot continues as you step out into the clearing. And as you do, the sound of fizzing is louder and louder as you approach this pool.
Yeah, Raazu's gonna head toward the sound of that fizzing sound.
And eventually you arrive at the side of the pool. And the air here is very cool. Almost icy. It was cool to begin with, but now you're standing amidst this kind of cloud of mist that's hanging over this pool. And looking into the water, you can see this is what's creating the sound of the fizzing. The water itself has some kind of carbonation to it. There are bubbles rising to the surface and popping. To your eyes, it first looks like the thing is boiling, but it's much too cold for that. And the rest of you looking out across the clearing, you can see all of Raazu's footsteps all the way across.
Hey, boys.
Hey, Nodal.
Now we gotta start all over. Alright, so I tried to go to Wawa, but I got in the wrong turning lane. How you doing, Nodal?
Hey.
So, Raazu, what she's gonna do is take one of the javelins off of her, off the sling on her back, and kind of push the non-pointy end into the liquid.
Okay.
At a Wawa? That's messed up.
Yeah.
I actually had a friend, we went to the mall once, and we had just been to the,
Sword store.
right. But no, we had just been to the flea market, and he bought, like, a giant, like, I don't know, Native American javelin, some kind of weapon. and he carried it into the mall with him when we
Sure.
went because he didn't want to leave it in the car.
Yeah.
And I can't believe we didn't get arrested that day.
The mall probably had a sword store, and they just assumed you bought it there. Do you guys mall not have sword stores?
No.
No.
I've been
Never seen
to
them.
malls with sword stores. Yeah.
Every mall I've ever been to has and no one's ever in them. Like no one shops there.
Yeah. No, it's.
But they
weird.
all have a sword store, and I don't understand it.
Yeah, Raazu, you pull your javelin out and it's wet now.
Oh my.
Is
Basically,
the
I
javelin
was-
melting.
Yeah, I was looking for like some kind of evidence that this stuff might be kind of acidic.
It didn't have any effect on your javelin.
Hmm.
It's wet and will remain so until it dries out.
Sure.
2d4 minutes.
Places the javelin in her pouch, the sling on her back.
What's everybody else
What's
doing?
the humidity like
Raazu's-
down here?
What's the
Well,
humidity like?
Adrex is
It's very, very humid and has been the
Okay.
whole time you're here. It's a really strange mixture of cool air but very damp air.
Adrex has gone over to where Raazu is and is staring at the pool. And there is just one thing on his mind.
What's that?
I think you know.
Like,
Is it your brewing supplies?
He's gonna screw it.
I think we should go swimming.
Birdie's gonna run up and like just tackle Adrex into the water, or try to, because
I got my armor on, dude!
I know he's just gonna try.
Don't worry about it. Birdie's like 30 pounds. I think you'll be fine.
So yeah, Adrix, Birdie just crashes into you. You feel a slight pressure on the back of your leg.
Hey! What the... Why? What are you doing?
Nothing.
Raazu attempts to gauge the depth of it
How do you do this?
with her javelin again.
I mean, when you pull down with the javelin, I mean, it doesn't touch. Well, I mean, you can feel the bank of it right where you're standing, the bank of the pool. So, I mean, are you wading out into it?
Not yet. I was just wondering if it was just like a straight up deep hole, or if it was more like a pool that's like from a gradual depression in the floor that just filled up with this water.
No, more like a gradual depression. I mean, you could wade out into it successfully and you'd have to for a couple feet to actually gauge the true depth of the bottom. Just standing on the bank, poking it with your javelin, half a foot maybe.
Is it clear? Is the water clear?
It does look clear, but you still can't see very deep into it because of this carbonation that's coming up out of it, because of the fizzing and roiling and popping of bubbles. But there is a dim green lumination arising from the depths of the pool, which you surmise to be the same as this grass in this clearing.
Just to be clear, why are we here? Like, is this in our way? Are we?
Oh, we're lost. This was the only landmark we could find.
We're lost as fuck right now.
Okay. So we found this pool, and we're just like, well, why not?
Is there? But doesn't seem to be any other evidence of other people.
Hey,
Coming
yeah, I was
through
gonna
this
ask,
area?
Birdie, are there any tracks around here, like animals coming to this to graze? I'm not the best tracker.
It would be more of because Raazu was leaving these footprints out. I'm wondering if there's any other sets of these footprints that would be really easily in evidence because of the way that these moss thingies retract.
How wide is the clearing?
I don't know, 120 feet across maybe. It's
Okay.
mostly circular, but it is irregularly shaped. It's more like the mushrooms thin out close to the clearing, and then this pool takes up maybe the back half of it.
Are there any mushrooms in the pool?
Not that you can see. In fact, looking up overhead, I was describing to them these gargantuan mushrooms earlier. This clearing isn't even underneath the cap of any of the largest of these mushrooms. So you actually went through I'll call it the tree line of the largest ones, and they got progressively smaller and thinner until you reach this clearing that has nothing in it at all.
Adrex is taken off about half of his armor.
Okay.
And he's really excited.
Like,
And then he remembers the river that we were just in, or the river we were in like yesterday or 2 days ago, or however long time has passed.
Mhm.
And the weird, like, tentacle-y thing that was on the bottom of that river,
Mhm.
and then realizes, you know what? Maybe this isn't such a good idea.
I don't know. I think that's out of character because I doubt that Adrex actually has a concept of object permanence.
Adrex is like, I remember that tentacly thing. I bet that's good eating.
No, but
All right.
Birdie wants to go around the perimeter of the thing and do what they suggested. Look for tracks to see if anybody has entered or left the.
So Red asks you to see if you can pick up tracks, and looking at them, now that you know a little more about the ground here and having seen how this particular grass-like fungus reacts, you're not sure how you would go about tracking. You're not leaving footsteps in the soil, unless you're physically going out of your way to make your presence known. This place seems to cover up your ground pretty easily. And thinking about it, this has to be one of the reasons why you were able to walk in circles for hours and not realize it. You never even came across your own tracks.
Is this like grungus poisonous?
How much of it have you eaten?
I'll ask him Red. Red seems to know what poisonous plants are.
I would let Red make that determination over the course of a short rest.
Does that be a
Here's my-
poisoner's kit
here's-
check?
Here's my question: is that if this fungus is growing up to the banks of this pond, then presumably it's drawing on whatever water is contained in this pond. So if the moss isn't poisonous, probably we could drink this water.
So to
Yeah, if
answer
you
your,
want. I mean, it would take me about an hour to work that out.
to answer your first question, I mean, you can see where some of this I like the word grungus. We're going to go with that. How it's kind of growing into the pool. You can see it as Raazu is testing it with her javelin. Some of it is submerged, and it probably is all the way down. To answer your second question, make me a wisdom check.
All right.
We'll call this wisdom nature if you have nature training.
Actually, I might. I think I might have taken that.
Why would a monk take nature? That doesn't make any sense.
I was gonna take survival, but then Birdie did.
Monk shouldn't take any skill but punch and stuff.
It's punch nature. That is a spinning dial as D&D Beyond loads. No, that is a 12.
A 12?
Yeah.
You're not really confident because this is such an alien environment. But you would think if this grungus was feeding on nutrients in this carbonated pool for whatever reason, that the pool itself would be centered here. And it's not. It's at the edge of this clearing and not in the center of it.
Is the water giving off any strange smells?
No.
Okay.
I mean, no stranger than just the ambient mushroom forest you've been walking through.
Well, I meant more like acrid, sour.
Nope.
That kind of stuff.
Nothing that would make it smell unpalatable. Do you guys want to take an hour and let Red run some tests?
Sure.
Okay.
So that poison kit check.
Yes. We'll call that Intelligence Poisoner's Kit.
Okay. How long until I can try and reorient us, by the way? Like, I forgot what you said.
You
how,
can't.
How often?
The only point of orientation you had was the exit of that tunnel, and that's
Okay.
long behind you now. And you couldn't get...
All right.
There's no way to get back there.
Okay.
You are
No, that's
irrevocably
fine.
lost, and the campaign is now Mushroom Forest forever.
Okay.
Go ahead and take
Let's
the
say
benefits of a short
on
rest.
the poisoner's check.
I'm sorry, you said an 18?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
It's definitely water. And what kind of tests do you run? Like, do you scoop it up out of the pool, or do you try to just stand at the pool and...
No, I'm gonna take some of it. I'm gonna run some reagents over it and see if it reacts in ways I would expect common poisons to react, such that they could be, concentrated or
Okay.
made more active, and just see if I get any sort of reaction from it.
as soon as you remove the water from the pool, after not long, after like 40 or 50 seconds, it loses that fizziness. And as far as you can tell from that point on, it's just water. There doesn't seem to be anything else special about it.
And while it's in the fizzy state, do I think it's poisonous?
You can't imagine any use this would have as far as making poisons, no.
Okay.
Alright, so at least we have a... As long as we don't lose this place, we have a source of water, and probably we can eat some of these plants. So we're not gonna die. We just need to, like, build up our knowledge from here.
I feel like this would be an
Agreed.
excellent time for me to say roll initiative. Like, why don't you just... Anytime the PC says we're not gonna die, is that a challenge, Knave?
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I said we need to build up our knowledge from here. Learning what kind of shit lives down here. Excellent use of our time.
Okay. Now, is
I
that
legit
something you're
thought
going to
you were
try to
calling
do
for
as
initiative.
you're marching?
Oh, were you joking?
Oh, I was joking. No, there's no initiative.
Oh, I rolled for initiative.
Get the player paranoid, Brickroad. Good job.
Apparently, that's my skill. That's my calling card in D&D.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So is this going to be something that Wendy's trying to do while marching through the forest, or is this something like do you want to like throw
This
down
is
a
kind
base
of just
camp
how
here?
Wendy. This is more just kind of how Wendy thinks.
Okay.
She's like, okay, well, we've lost what we had before. So now the thing to do is make sure we don't lose any more information. So make sure we don't lose track of this pool,
Mm-hmm.
and just build out from there.
Okay.
Agreed.
So it's kind of like losing your spawn point in Minecraft.
Yeah,
Just start over from punching a tree again.
exactly.
Can I say that Birdie spent the short rest looking at that harpoon gun?
That's going to be over a long rest. That's
Okay,
going to
all right.
require hours and hours of tinkering.
That is
Yeah, you
fine.
guys spend an hour here, and it's a relaxing rest with the company of this, what's becoming a very pleasant fizzing noise in the air. It's a little colder maybe than you'd like, but it's not the Feywild,
nice
so you
white
got that
noise.
going for you.
That is a good thing.
And what's next?
Mm-hmm.
So, at least since we've got this place and it's a relatively wide open and there's no mushrooms growing over it,
Mhm.
we don't need to worry about losing it that much, because if I fly up above the mushrooms, I'll be able to find this place. I won't
Which
be able
is-
to find anywhere else under the mushrooms.
Which is how Birdie found it. He climbed a tall mushroom and looked out and saw this.
Yeah.
Because there's the green grungus here is luminous. It's giving off green light. He was able to see it from a distance.
So I say we pick a north and we head that direction. Is there anything distinctive about one part of the lake such that we could use that as a consistent direction?
The most distinctive feature of it is that it's not centered in the clearing. You approached it from the opposite side of the lake, and Raazu had to cross the clearing to reach the edge of the little pond.
Alright, so we call whatever the closest to the edge of the clearing direction is, we call that north, and we just start working. How does that sound to the rest of you?
That sounds fine.
How do we figure out where north is?
I'm
No,
saying
no
we're not figuring out which way north is, we're deciding on what a north is.
Got it.
Yeah.
Because
So,
we've lost actual north, now
Right.
we have fungus north.
so I would say that this side of this clearing that the pond is on, that is our new north.
Yeah, essentially.
We will determine our own north,
Yes, we
And
have
yeah, that's what I just said.
we have come up with north.
but I'm implying we're more godlike than you did.
The godlike powers of knowing which way north is.
Exactly.
All right. Who's taking point now that you've reoriented yourself? Who's taking the responsibility of making sure you're traveling in this one direction?
Poolward is what we're calling it.
Well,
I'm still the best at
Alright.
it. I just
Let's get that survival check.
What's your survival at?
9.
So wait, are you just trying to
Yeah.
like take us in one specific direction? Can I assist with this by attempting to make sure we're heading in a consistent direction away from the pool?
I was about to ask the same thing.
I'm gonna say no, for the same reason as Raazu earlier. You're not familiar with this environment and all, at all. And after an hour or two of marching, you'll be far enough away that you won't be able to see the clearing anymore.
All right.
So
17.
17. Y'all are starting to get tired and hungry at the end of what amounts to your second day of travel. You have a couple brushes with what passes for wildlife here, other than the fact that the shapes, fur patterns, and things are very different from what you're used to. It could pass for wildlife, any kind of woodland critters, with the major exception of, instead of birds, you've come across bird-sized insects.
That sucks.
Large flies and things with wingspans equal to a hawk's or an eagle's, are the largest you've seen. Wendy, how do you feel about flying with these things around?
I mean, that's good eating. We've got a source of protein.
All right, everybody's gonna have a bug sandwich.
You
About the
shouldn't
time that
travel
you
with a
guys-
bird, you don't want to eat bugs.
By the time that you guys realize that you've been marching for, I don't know, another 5 or 6 hours now, and you're starting to get tired, Birdie, you put your foot down on something solid. And at first you think, oh, it's a moss-covered stone or something. But looking down, it's not. There's a stone set into the ground, but there's no moss on it. And looking around, you find another one several feet away. And then another one several feet away from that. And then they seem to be paired closer and closer together.
Like a path?
Like a footpath, yeah.
Eventually, when you follow it long enough, it does seem like it resembles a stone path.
Well, this seems promising and not at all suspicious.
I mean, what's the worst that can happen?
We get eaten.
Yeah,
Again,
but that could happen here.
I feel like if a PC says that, my response should be roll initiative.
You shouldn't have a member of the party who just wants to learn new things if you want them to be cautious.
I think even being eaten isn't that bad. Like there are things that could eat you that you could potentially survive, like whales.
See, there you go.
I mean, Mordenkainen's tome has the Zaratan in it.
Who knows? Maybe
Or like a giant frog.
Birdie could get his wish and be baked into a pie.
No.
Birdie, you lead the group
All witch forest.
along this stone footpath, and eventually it leads to the first sign of, I'm going to say, civilization here, but really it's, if anything, it's more like a woodsman's shack, like a hermit that lives in the middle of nowhere. And entering the small area where this shack is built, the path crosses between bizarre plant-like structures on either side of it. And at first they don't look like much, but then you realize as you get closer, maybe 50, 60 feet away from them, they are enormous animal shapes.
Huh. Like carved?
Right now you're about 50, 60 feet away. But from this distance, they look like enormous, something with a lot of girth to them and big bony protrusions on their head. Maybe a bull.
I'm assuming we're up here.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll creep over there, see if I can get a good look at them.
Oh no, we're back in the Feywild.
Oh god.
And the pixies are here, and they say, "Welcome back!" And then they
Hey,
throw rocks
bitches,
at you.
what? Ready for round 2?
I think technically like round 4.
Wendy, show me where you're moving to. How close are you getting?
I'm gonna are these 5-foot squares?
Yes.
Let's move you guys off a bit. Presumably we're not that close. I'm
Wait,
gonna
no.
get like right here.
Mm-hmm.
Before Wendy scatters off from the rest of the group, who here speaks Undercommon?
Birdie does.
Is it just Birdie?
Raazu.
Raazu. Okay.
Yeah.
Does someone
gonna
just
make a
want to
spell
call
check.
out an Undercommon hello? Like, I mean, we're not here to attack anyone.
Yet.
I don't know, man. We're on a battle mat.
So does anybody call out or not?
That's
No, that goes against my
I'm gonna.
instincts.
How about this? I'll move off so that I'm not standing directly next to you guys, and then you can call out. That's kind of a best of both worlds situation.
Well, Wendy, getting that close to the thing, what you thought was a bull at first, the horns coming off of a bull's head, turns out are actually tusks coming off of this enormous, kind of shaped like a boar. Like a
Nice.
wild boar, but like a different evolutionary path of a boar. It has 6 legs instead of 4, and it has claws on its feet instead of hooves. Still has the long snout, and the thing's not covered in hair. It's covered in mosses and things. And at this close, you realize this thing's not alive. This thing is someone's idea of a topiary.
Cool.
And there's 3 of them on the sides of this path, all of the same animal.
That's neat. And I'll creep back and describe that to them.
Okay.
And Adrex has no idea what a topiary is.
Bring me a shrubbery. Okay.
Well, I suppose we should keep going then.
Oops. Sorry.
Oh God.
Like I wanna poke one of the. I'm gonna walk up and poke it.
Where do you poke it?
Like in the there's a tail coming out. I'll poke
Like-
the tail with my shovel.
Clearly that's a butt.
And you poke it, and the thing has some give to it, just like, I mean, it's a living plant, or a living fungus, I guess. So it has some give to it, and you could probably, I mean, obviously you can shape it with tools, because that's what's been done.
It's kind of impressive, actually. It's someone is able to get fungus to do this, I guess.
Don't break it, Birdie. It's rad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Don't. Yeah. No. This is like
And-
an expression of art or something.
I get very. Birdie gives a very disappointed look on his face because the next words out of my mouth were going to be, "I swing the shovel down to cut off the tail."
Yeah, that's why we said something.
Raazu gets out the spray bottle.
And then up the path a little bit, another 40 or 50 feet away, you do see this tiny little woodsman's shack. And in the light of the luminous mushroom ambient glow, it looks like a wooden shack. But if it's made of planks of wood, they either have had to have been imported from the surface, or they're made out of one of those extremely hard mushroom stalks that Adrex climbed earlier.
There's like 10 squares in that place. I have never been more suspicious of a black square in my entire life. Not even once. What the heck could be in 10 squares that you would need to block off? Oh, man.
Adrex is comparing his tail with the bush's tail in terms of size.
The bushes is much larger.
Okay. But that's still not stopping Adrex.
No, this thing is easily the size of a bull.
Your tail is much more impressive, though.
It's a bulge.
No.
And Raazu, as you approach, you actually see what looks like somebody's well-tended garden growing on the outside of this shack. But instead of flowers and bushes, it's various types of funguses, of caps and shelves that have been arranged. And up until now, the whole March of the Forest has just been a mishmash of various odors. Once in a while, you pass a patch of fungus that was obviously growing on something decaying. Sometimes it'd be the sickly, sweet smell of a fungus in the air. But this here This garden has been built for both visual pleasure, and it's very pleasant to smell as you walk up. There's a very pleasant odor surrounding this garden.
I feel like that's giving us all PTSD.
Raazu calls out an undercommon and says, "Hello?"
You wait a few moments, and there's no response.
Is there any windows visible on the sides?
Make a wisdom check.
Adrex says in common, regular common, if this is a trap, we'd like to not spring it.
It's a 5.
A 5? You do not see any windows on the outside of the building from this angle.
Trick says in DM.
I'm guessing that there's a door right here along this path.
Yes, there's the front door is here. So it looks like a wooden door, but you know it can't be made of like trees. There are none. But you don't see. There's no window in the door. It seems to be closed tightly.
Raazu steps up to it
Okay.
and knocks onto it, expecting to hear a thunk, 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 but probably hears like something very terrifying instead.
It feels like wood to your knuckles. I know you've passed several of these enormous stalked mushrooms that have the same consistency and feel of like a denuded tree. But yeah, you knock on the door.
No response.
No response. It does feel and sound similar enough to wood that you're confident it's a fully functional door.
Try to open it.
You reach down to the large handle of the door and it's locked.
I'm just imagining an extremely polite adventuring party that comes to like a closed door and it's just like, well, I guess it's not ours, so let's just keep going.
Meanwhile, Adrex is outside mowing down the garden looking for rupees.
I wanna. Birdie wants to like circle the house, just looking.
Coming around the back side of the house, you don't find any windows, but there is a second door here.
Oh well, I'm going to just open the door.
This
Not even
one
knock.
is not the same size of the first. It's maybe half or even a third of the size. Much smaller, both in height and width. But it has a similar style turning handle on it. And you try it, and again, it's locked.
Well, I'm going to try and pick the lock with my thieves' tools because I have no sense of personal space.
Okay. Make that roll.
While he's doing that, I'm gonna check out the roof.
You fly up onto the roof. Building's maybe 12 feet high. And typically a shack like this you would expect to see like maybe a thatched roof or something. But this is made up of the same kind of, I'm going to say boards for lack of a better term, that are overlaid one over another. So they're downward sloping slats. So there is, the building actually comes to a peak in the center and it slopes down either side. Birdie, how'd you do on that roll?
That would be a proficiency plus dex modifier, right?
Yeah, dexterity thieves tools.
Yeah. So that would be a 18.
18, and without much difficulty, you get your tools down and you pop the door. And this door is of a size that you have to duck your head to get into it.
Really? Oh wow.
Everybody
Okay, so
else could like crawl through it probably, but it's just barely not your size.
Well, I'm gonna like open the door and like yell inside in undercommon, "Hey, your door was open."
And everybody hears from the front of the house. Birdie
And we're
yells
just
out,
like,
"Hey!"
"Ah."
Raazu
I'll hop down.
drops her head and just shakes it.
Hey, Birdie, was the door open?
I mean, it is now. What is?
Birdie, looking into the room, just on the other side of the door is a square of what looks like carpet that looks very clean. And it's not very large, only a couple feet or so, as you see here on the map, but it's just spread out in front of this little door. Off to the right of this otherwise empty room, you see another closed door sectioning off the two sides of the hut. And then in front of you, you see a large cellar door. And this one is covered and nailed into place with many, many boards.
Oh, well, I need to know what's in there.
Well, I'm gonna crawl in and just like open. I'm gonna open this door and be like, "Hey, your door was open."
This one you actually have to. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, this door is locked too when you try to open it.
Huh.
Well, okay, I'm going to get my thieves' tools out and open it again.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, because that's weird.
This is Baba Yaga Part 3.
At this point, Raazu's let out a long, world-weary sigh and is already heading around the house. Once he hears.
Windy,
It's weird.
Yeah.
when you entered this room, you realized you had to get down like on your hands and knees and climb through this little door. Yes.
So I'm squeezing?
Technically, yeah, but more importantly, you're having to climb through on your hands and knees, making sure you're aware of that.
Yep, sure.
Okay. And when you do so, when you climb across this little carpet in front of this door, it is maybe the softest feeling material you've ever touched.
Is it fungus?
You're pretty sure it's not fungus, but seeing some of the miraculous things this forest has done with fungus so far, you can't entirely rule it out.
They're pretty good with fungus. Mosses, funguses.
And Raazu, you come around the side of the house and the back door is wide open. Birdie, what's that?
And there's like a wing out in front of you.
Okay, so 9, but I had the weirdest thing. It showed up front with a 10, said 2, and then when I picked the dice up and moved it,
It's a 2.
That's
No,
a
I
two.
know, I know.
It's
No,
a two now.
yeah, it's a 2 now. But like, I've never seen it. The dice do that. That was weird.
That's why you have to mouse over it sometimes, because
Yeah.
it's finicky.
We always go by the mouse over.
Oh yeah, no,
So-
9 total for the mouse over. That's what I went by, but I've just never had a dice do that.
Oh yeah, it's weird. It can be real weird.
And
And
Birdie,
we
you're not
popped
able
it.
to open this lock.
So like,
Let's go back out to the front.
no, Wendy, kick it open.
Raazu leans down, pokes her head through the small door and says, "Birdie, was this locked?"
No, it's open clearly.
No,
You
Raazu,
understand?
it's genuinely weird. There's like this boarded over door down here, and they've locked the door leading to this room, even inside the house. Something's odd going on here.
So just out of character, like immediately, I think Evil Dead. We're gonna find Deadites, and it's gonna be terrible. There's
Let's
gonna be an
not
old-
do any damage that we can avoid, Birdie, but let's go check out the front door.
Fine.
Adrex, what are you doing at the front door when they come back around?
Staring at it blankly.
Staring at it blankly. It's not even staring back at you. It doesn't even have eyes. Wendy, are
Just
you
thinking-
walking on the flowers?
Oh yeah, you're right. That would be rude.
I remember I did that shit in Breath of the Wild. Jesus.
I got yelled at.
No bullshit, that side quest took me 9.5 hours. I couldn't not walk
That-
on the flowers. I was there all fucking day.
I'm gonna
That woman.
Oh, I just flew. I flew right over them. I was playing
Yeah.
Windy even then.